what do I do? Hannah Storm and Matt Berry with you on a Monday. Huge game in H-Town tonight. Can't wait. But here's the worrisome thing for Rockets fans, because there's a couple of scenarios, right? Yeah. So one of them is that Steph Curry could go absolutely wild and bounce back from his worst game of the season. But the other one is that there's lingering issues for the defending champs.
Yeah, there are lingering issues, Hannah. That's a good point. But here's what matters most after Saturday. Rockets got themselves back into the series with the win as we approach Game 4 tonight. Warriors-Rockets, Game 4, 9:30 Eastern. Rockets have won 11 straight home games. Number 11 came on the back of James Harden and his best game of the postseason. 41 points for him. The Warriors, however, with Kevin Durant, have 46 points in the Game 3 loss. He's led the Warriors in points for 7 straight games, playoff games. That's the longest streak by a Warriors player in the postseason since Rick Barry in 1967. On the other side is Steph Curry. We mentioned it a second ago, a postseason he'd like to forget, shooting 35% from the field. He's hit no more than threes in a single game.
Steph Curry behind the back, drives down a lane and misses the jam! Oh, he missed it!
Steph has a bad game. What is his response usually?
He usually has a good game, and he gets locked in, and he gets a little bit angry, and he comes out with a lot of focus and a lot of fight. So that's what we're expecting.
I know he don't make too much of it as a competitor. I know he's pissed with himself, and I think that'll bode well for us.
And the Rockets will get the overtime win.
I think we've got their attention. They have our attention, that's for sure. So, it's at this stage, not a whole lot's going to surprise anybody.
It's going to come down to whoever can limit their defensive mistakes. That's pretty much it.
I just want to win. You know what I mean?
So will Steph bounce back? We'll find out. According to our friends at the Elias Sports Bureau, Durant and Harden are the fourth set of opposing players to each average at least 35 points in the first 3 games of a playoff series. And it's not Harden's first time on the list. He and Russell Westbrook did it 2 seasons ago. Prior to that, it hadn't happened in 16 years. For more on this game, Michelle Beadle and the Countdown crew.
As we move closer to Game 4 between the Warriors and the Rockets, Rockets finding a way to get it done at home, beating them in overtime, no less. Warriors still have the lead, 2-1. But Steph and Clay, how concerned should we be if you're a Warriors fan?
Well, if you're a Warriors fan, you have to trust and believe that one of those guys will step up and make some shots. KD has been unbelievable. He'll continue to have his advantages on the offensive end, but you need one of those guys to step up and make shots. I think Steph is going to be the guy to do it. Draymond's been extremely solid the entire postseason. But if you're Houston, you're saying, no, we want those guys to struggle still. We need a win right here. We want to make it a series.
James Harden, 40 points. If they're going to win this game, they're going to be close. Chris Paul, however, has to have the opportunity to initiate offense. And when James Harden is on the floor, he can't have bad body language. He can't have poor spacing. He has to be somebody that's a threat out there and allow other guys to cook when he doesn't have the basketball.
Because of the caliber of players that Clay and Steph Curry are, it's going to be impossible for me to think that they can have this bad of a performance again. KD will continue to do KD things. Draymond has probably been their most consistent player, outside of KD, but they need Clay and Steph, or one of the two, to step up because of their lack of a bench. We saw yesterday that their bench was hardly ever productive, so they need this from their superstars, and I think Steph steps up, and I think they get the win.
So you do think they get the win?
I do.
All right, let's do that. Who do you have?
Rockets.
Rockets?
Wow.
Rockets. Tie things
long
up?
series, huh, Mr. Big
We're going to
Shot?
have a long series.
I think a gentleman's sweep is going to take place starting the next game.
Okay. Oh, yeah, and you already did yours. Well, there you go. That'll do it for us. Back to you.
Guys, thank you. Much more from the NBA Countdown crew on another Game 4 on the way. Paul Pierce on what the Celtics must do to even their series, Hannah, with the Bucks tonight.
Murray throws it down. Up and over the backboard. Wow, Jamal Murray.
Recapping the Nuggets' Game 4 win as both teams had to bounce back from that long game. Damian Lillard, very good, especially in the fourth. He had 15 points, not dominant in the loss, though. Since his 50-point game against the Thunder in round 1, he's reached 30 points only one time. How about Jamal Murray? Good fourth quarter for the Nuggets with 12 points, 34 points for the second straight game. Prior to that, he was averaging 19 per game in the playoffs, making a great duo with Nikola Jokic, who recorded his fourth triple-double of the postseason, and in the process became just the 9th different player in NBA history with consecutive triple-doubles in the playoffs. But one thing didn't really go well for him.
First question. Someone broke it.
Someone broke it.
No,
Not me.
It was you.
Couldn't have been me. So instead of dropping the mic, he just destroys the mic. That's a lot of fun. All right, so Jokic and Murray become just the second set of teammates ever with consecutive 30-point games and triple-doubles as we join Seth Greenberg. And they're in pretty heady company, joining Magic and Kareem there. Hey, Seth, they played nearly 200 minutes in the last 2 games. What's making that duo work so well?
Well, I think the Nuggets in general have a no excuses, no regrets type mindset. And what I mean by that is, think about this. In back-to-back games, they were 12-1. So they understand to get to the next play, to get to the next game, to kind of reboot. And that's what those two guys did. I thought Murray was so aggressive. He attacked off the bounce. He shot the 3. He got in the lane. He finished aggressively. And then Jokic. There's no one like him. When you think about this guy, he's a point center. He's as good a passer as any passer in the league. When those two guys are playing well, this Denver Nuggets team is really hard to beat. And Murray being aggressive is the key, because Jokic, he's going to do it every night. Because when the ball hits his hands, something good happens.
Yeah, you got to give them props for coming back from that quadruple overtime loss and coming back and getting the win on the road. So well done by Denver. All right, let's talk about some struggles in the other Western Conference series. Of course, we're talking Steph Curry. Everybody was yesterday, just 3 for 10 on open shots in Game 3 against Houston, including opting for that wide open dunk, which he missed in a 5-point game in overtime. So what does Steph need to clean up here?
You know, he really doesn't need to clean up anything. Stay with your routine. Steph Curry is one of the great shooters in the history of our game. He doesn't need to change anything. I think what you'll see is Steve Kerr try to get him going early today. And how does he do that? Try to get him out in transition, get him some drag ball screens in transition. Try to run him in half court in the action and create some switches that are advantageous to him. So look for Steve Curry to get him going early. But Steph Curry, he's just too good. On the other hand, Chris Paul is a concern. Shooting 27% from the three-point line in the playoffs. That's not acceptable. His assist-to-turnover ratio, right, is the worst in the history of his time playing in postseason basketball. He's got to make more plays. And the reason the ball's in Harden's hands is why? Because when the ball's in Harden's hands, they're just more efficient. Chris Paul's not creating separation. He's not getting in the lane. And he's not making the game as easy as he had in the past. The big question is, how good is Chris Paul right now? He's good enough to win. Is he good enough to take over a game? I'm not sure.
All right, so CP3 is the guard that has to step up. And we're going to see you in a bit to talk about Kawhi Leonard. I mean, shooting lights out, right? He's right there with KD and Giannis starring in the playoffs. We're going to give him some love coming up. Thanks, Seth.
Coming up, Adam Schefter is going to join us in studio as the Cowboys wrap up their offseason. Which offensive star will they take care of first? Plus, after maximum security disqualified as the winner of the Kentucky Derby, what his owner said this morning about what he will do now.